Hi, I'm Sarah Garrett Gasson here with Newsmakers. Joining me today is Daniel Hernandez Jr., President of the Sunnyside Unified School District Governing Board. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Sarah.
So you have been president of the board for less than a week.
Yes, it's been a week tomorrow.
Wow. Is that a big change for you?
It is. I think for me, it's not just being the president of the board, but the circumstances that allowed me to be president of the board were really monumental changes for the Sunnyside District and really for this Southside community. We have had two board members who have now been removed from office, making it a very rare thing in the state of Arizona to recall not just one elected official, but two, and by the margins which we were able to remove those two people, 74% and 58%, I think, goes a long way to telling how dissatisfied voters were with the people who were in office.
So are you glad they're gone?
I am. We worked really hard. There was a small group of people in the community that really, with very little money and really no institutional backing, was able to come and remove two board members who spent over $6,000 to get reelected and still lost by overwhelming numbers because we knocked on doors, we made phone calls, and we talked to the people in the community about what the problems were and how we could fix them.
So tell me Sunnyside has an interim superintendent
Yes.
now. You have removed Manuel Isquierdo, who was the superintendent. He's getting a big buyout, about $500,000. Walk us through that. What does that mean going forward?
I think it's really important for people to know that the only reason that there was a buyout at all is because of the contract that was done over a year ago. 2 years ago, when we were really finding out a lot more about Dr. Isquierdo, a lot of us were concerned. And a year ago, about June, when we were looking at his contract, I said, we cannot renew this man's contract. And he had a year left, and he would have ended anyway this year around this time. But there were people like Eva Dong, Louis Gonzalez, and Bobby Garcia who were adamant that they wanted to not only keep him, but extend him for 3 years, and provisions that they added into that contract, which would have allowed him to leave even if he had cause to be dismissed with a buyout. That was the reality that we were in. And in one of the last actions that those board members took, the night before that they were no longer board members, they voted for a buyout in the amount of $499,000. So the buyout was not an easy decision. I voted against it because I was upset with the circumstances to even get to this point, because if we had just left his original contract, he would have walked out of there with no additional money. But because of those three board members who wanted to give him a contract that did nothing for the district, he left with a buyout of almost $500,000. And we had three board members who voted for that on the night before. And then the next morning, we had a new board get sworn in. So taking, I think, the opportunity away from the new board to be able to use the mandate that they've gotten from voters. But by being able to do that, we were able to have a new start. And it gave us a fresh opportunity to appoint someone who's a fabulous person named Dr. Eugenia Favela, who's going to be our interim superintendent as we're doing a search for a permanent person.
So that contract that gave Dr. Isquierdo a big pile of money, whether he was removed for cause or not, is that something that will be exercised for the new superintendent coming in?
No. In a very short sentence, no. I think one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at what is the best interest of the district and, by extension, the employees and the students in the district. Because one of the things that I think we forget is, in order for us to have a good district, we have to have a good working and learning environment for our kids and for our employees. The biggest problem is that wasn't the focus before. The focus was, how do we pad the pockets of this one person?
So going forward, you're going to have to pay this $500,000 over about 18 months. You're going to have a new superintendent who's going to be getting a substantial salary. Paying all of that at once, what does that mean for the kids in the classroom?
Because of the way that the buyout was structured, and it's going to be over time and it wasn't in a big lump sum, it's not going to have a direct impact on the services that we'll be able to provide. We do have some additional money that we can look into dipping into if we need to, if we look at class sizes being a big problem, but I don't anticipate that happening. But when we're looking at the new contract, we're going to be really diligent to make sure that we're keeping in line with what is the national average, but also the average for people in the same kind of environment. The contract that Dr. Isquierdo had was way more than anybody in the same kind of district with the same kind of kids and the same kind of problems, because at the end of the day we still had 6 schools which were on the verge of failing and one that's now a priority school. That's not someone who should be getting paid over $300,000 a year who has let that happen in his tenure. So we're going to be really looking forward to a new superintendent who can focus on bringing Sunnyside back from the point where we are now to have us not just achieve but exceed in some of these state standards.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming in and
Thanks
sharing
for
that
having
with
me.
me.
I'm looking forward to it.
This is Newsmakers. I'm Sarah Garrett Gasson. Thanks for joining us. Be with us next time.